goodness. Okay, so I would like to welcome to Broken to Breakthrough, Catherine River Rain, and we are lucky.
Catherine Allen. Catherine Allen. Yeah.
Catherine Ellen.
Yeah.
I keep calling you River Rain. That's who you are.
Yeah, that's okay. River Rain is my website. It's my business name, but yeah, that's
I
okay.
totally thought it was like an initiated, like you're like claiming a new name, but Catherine.
Well, in a way, yeah. But I mean, it's been a weird thing over the years. Some people call me River. They think my first name is River. Like, no. Once I wrote my books are in my name, and then I just decided, let's because a lot of people get confused about these spiritual names and claiming, there's all kinds of issues, right?
Yeah.
Cultural appropriation, all kinds of stuff around. So it's just a business name now.
Okay. Okay. But Catherine is an author, a clairvoyant medium, astrologer, teacher, and spiritual confident. Ooh. And we're going to talk today we wanted to talk about how readings are a sneaky gateway to healing.
Mm,
Like it's something we tend to go to look to maybe like a medium or a psychic, could be a channel, could be a clairvoyant. We come to these sessions and we're like, okay, tell me my future, tell me my future. But really, it's a gateway into deeper healing.
hmm Definitely. Yeah, it's I've spent most of my life trying to educate on this, and I still find it a little tough because maybe Hollywood, just certain things that perpetuate this idea that somehow it's like somehow predictions or like deep diving into your astrology chart and your character is somehow separate from the rest of you. It's like, no, it's there to awaken you.
Yeah.
You want me to see what's around you, so why is that now separate from doing the work? Why it's exactly what can activate doing more of the work. And often I think people are they're either stunned at how much comes through or how they're affected. Many years people have told me, oh, well, I'd rather see you than my shrink. Like, okay. Or there's there's just lots to process, and because it's a channeling, a reading, whatever, there's a different kind of permission than, let's say, when you're in therapy, you're aware, like, you're going to be going multiple sessions, maybe months, maybe a year. You're going to talk about something repetitively, and slowly you're going to get whatever feedback. They don't have the same kind of process that gives permission that I get to just sort of slice through it. And so perhaps that's why there's like a dichotomy. But to me, it's like, if you've given somebody like myself this ultimate trust to say, yes, I'm letting you see me and tell me. Like, how often do you get truth telling? We all say we want it. We're all terrified of it. You benefit from it. It shocks you. Maybe once in your life that can happen, and it sets you on a course. One time can shift your path, but it still provokes another aspect of your healing journey after that, because you've just allowed something to enter your consciousness quickly, like your last guest was talking about, and you were talking about, it takes time to for a lot of things to be integrated. We can't just unzip ourselves and reinvent overnight, but in a way, like, having an insight, having facing a truth, those moments of that's what they do. And maybe how many of those can we handle? So the way I would love to work more, and I hope things shift over the next consciousness around healing shifts, is, not every session is going to be a truth telling, but once you've had that moment, then you can still stick with the person that helped you awaken that and work now in a different way. Or that's what I would hope. But it's shifting people's cultural mass perceptions of what readings are. Yeah. Curious your thoughts on that,
Yeah,
actually.
you know what? That is actually a really, really great point. Yes, there's so many different experiences when it comes to healing and when it comes to evolving, and the peeling of the onion is huge. But there are certain moments in our lives where it is appropriate to just cut it completely open, and a complete paradigm shift will do that. I had one with my middle son today, even, where I just saw him in a whole new light, where we kind of
Mm.
kept butting heads because him and I are very similar. And I was standing at my sink and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm frustrated with him, but there's something else here. Like, what else is here? And all of a sudden, I just saw what was there. And it was like, it was just a complete shedding of what needed to go.
Mm.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
like
that's beautiful.
crying. I drove to him. He was walking to school. I'm like, I see you. Great.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so healing. And it
Mhm.
is often so subtle like that. I mean, it doesn't feel subtle for you in the moment, but it's often a very subtle shift in the way we see somebody or ourselves that changes everything from there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100% it is. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you know, I've had readings myself, obviously, where people will point something out to you, and you never know. Sometimes people are unwitting messengers too. They're not readers at all. They're, sometimes it's the guys in my band that say something to me, and I'm like, ah, oh, you see me that way, really? And then I might shift the way I see myself. I shift the way I'm behaving with them after that. So that's a healing that happens without a reader. Many people are messengers,
Yes.
and
Yep.
yeah. uh, I've had people, I don't know why I'm remembering this all of a sudden, but I remember being downtown Montreal and I was just really grumpy because, well, I'm just grumpy sometimes in cities. I don't like crowds. I don't like people bumping into each other. I don't like it when people are unaware of their surroundings. So I was having one of my grumpy days and I must have been all over my face, and the lady on the sidewalk just yelled after me, relax, right? And I mean, why do I remember that moment? But like, I could have just taken that and kept on bitching, but I didn't. Something in me stopped on the sidewalk. I went, my God, she's right. What kind of wound up state am I in here? You know? So like, just to say, many times we need these moments.
Mhm.
Like we need a lot of gentleness in the healing, but you can't heal with everybody just doing this all the time either, because they'll stay in therapy for 25 years and they'll never make a decision. So sometimes you need, there's a role for everybody, the truth telling.
And this is a really great gateway story for how you don't actually, when you're really paying attention, you get messages all the time. And it's like, whoever you believe in, if you believe it's the universe, or if you believe it's a guide, or it's your high self, whatever you believe is showing you, that it will come through every path. I have seen signs on buses, heard stuff
Yes.
in music, and every
Yes.
day this stuff is coming towards us.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's uncanny how many times in my over the many years that I'm still single, that I'll have a particularly down day and I kid you not, hearts come to me. Like somebody serves me a heart on my latte on one of my worst days. Or another time I'm walking outside of my house and I notice there's a squirrel at the bottom of this tree. And I look down, then I see there's an acorn beside him and it's been split in half. And the inside of the acorn is a heart. Or stuff like that. Like signs, when you're aware, like you can't be looking like, is that a sign? Everything's a sign. No, like you can't be paranoid that everything's a sign, because I've definitely met those people too. But if you're really not trying and, and something comes to you and hits, you'll feel it, you'll stop and you'll be like, that means something happened to me here. Then yeah, explore it. There might be a sign symbolically. And so the hearts, yeah, it's a very nice one when it comes through.
Okay, so you're really practicing with this, and I have definitely been the nutcase who's like, okay, how do I find, just like this crow just flew in front, and like what is it? And so, but then there's also times where you're like, oh yeah, that was the sign. Do you have a way to maybe share with the audience of
Mm.
how do we actually know what is a sign and what is just stuff we can let go, so we're not overloaded,
Yes, okay.
overloading
Yeah.
ourselves?
So I go back to sort of meditation practice on that, like with the Vipassana that I did many years ago, that, if you are in a state of craving or aversion, you can't really trust what you're getting, your intuition or the sign. So think of a typical one. Why hasn't he called me? Is he going to call me? Is he going to call me? Does he still like me? Why isn't he texting me? And then everything's a sign. Well, it means he will. It means he won't. It means he will. Because you're obsessed. You're craving something. You want a certain answer, so that's what you're going to look for, and then you're going to make things fit. And then that's not a genuine sign or intuition. And the other way around too. You don't want something to happen. Oh my God, no, 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 I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. See, that's a sign that's gonna it's the same thing. So the only time you can really trust a sign or your true intuition is when your mind is calm. And usually that's when you're not even thinking about it. You might be doing the dishes and all of a sudden you're like, I'm getting a weird feeling about my neighbor. That's funny. And you might just go, oh well. And then if the more conscious we become of those subtle things instead of dismissing them, because they won't come like, this is a sign, oh, like a voice from on high. It's like, there's no background music like the movies. It's going to be subtle. And so if you're aware of like, well, that's interesting. I was in a calm state and this just sort of did like a drive-by. Oh, that might be something. You weren't trying for it, but it struck you. So you just silently make a note of it, note to self. Don't obsess about it. Because as soon as you start obsessing, what's that mean? Now you might make a story about it again. Yeah. So to me, intuition and mindfulness go hand in hand.
That's huge.
Yeah.
What an easy way to decipher it too, right? Like I've definitely worked myself up into the that craving place, right? Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I write about it quite a bit in my book. Can I show my book or?
Go for it.
All
Yeah.
right. So my book
Oh,
here is
cool.
a little bit of intuition.
Yeah.
And I talk about when you can trust when it's real and when it's not. So there's
Oh,
yeah. So there's either projection, fear, and fantasy. So yeah, this is where a lot of things in our field, in our spiritual field, get very, very tricky. You
yes.
know, if you want to work on manifesting, visualizing something, well, how do you know at what point you're at? Like, it's a very tricky thing to say. What energy is it that brings it, and what you're starting to like obsess on a fantasy about something or project something you want, and then it's like the whole what is that meme? Somebody's stranded on a desert island and a plane flies by. No, 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 I'm waiting for a sign. Or like, right, and a boat comes by, can we take you? No, no, I'm waiting for and then finally like, God, why did you forsake me? It's like, well, I sent you three ways to get off the island. That I haven't quoted it exactly, but it's that type of thing. If we're so hell-bent on what our perfect manifestation is supposed to look like, well, will you recognize something when it comes that you actually asked for? It's hard. It's hard for us all to do that because we all want to idealize some stuff. So yeah, fantasy and projection are really tough. Sometimes, a lot of times people think it's a sign or an intuition when they're actually projecting. For example, let's say I've somebody's been cheated on and they're just out of a bad relationship and they're still very nervous to trust anybody. They meet a nice guy, he's a healthy guy, and he's just more calm than she's ever known. And so he didn't get back to her within an hour. He must be cheating. There's someone else. I'm going to check his phone.
Ooh,
Right? Or you start projecting like your fear of him cheating, and you start to make reasons and you start to find fault, and then that actually pushes the guy away.
right.
That's one example. of projection. But a lot of people, like, if the fear is so strong of something happening again, they'll start to create what they think are signs. Or no, my gut's telling me, no, no, he is. It's like, no, no, that's your trauma
Right.
from the last thing. How do you know you're not projecting it onto the nice person now? And that leads into what I first said. Like, okay, if with a reader, a medium, a Reiki practitioner, somebody that we expect is just giving us a truth and then bye, I'll see you next time I need one. But if you've unlocked that with that person, you can also help unpack that with that person if they have the skill set, you know?
Yeah, that's a huge point too, especially, if you have had any areas in childhood where you developed a sense of fantasy to give yourself what you weren't getting, then bringing that forward into adulthood, when we're manifesting, we do want to fantasize stuff, but it's like, what's the difference between the healthy, fantasizing and the obsessive fantasizing? And that is a muscle that does need to be nurtured and kind of worked out. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that comes to mind as you're saying that is because I do believe sometimes we can get into a certain state that manifests something that does represent like sort of a big jump ahead or a big shift that you normally wouldn't think could happen to you. Like, um, but it's the difference to me is like a lot of people, I feel, I don't know, a lot of people sort of like they'll fantasize about what they want to manifest and it's like way over here. And I don't know whether they could actually handle it if it happened emotionally. Whereas like if you're manifesting, if you want a big jump, you also then have to be ready to be cracked open to accept that jump. You know, it's not like an easy cakewalk to go, oh, just go from a little apartment to the big house now. No, these things are big. Like, or I want to, whatever you, it's your business. You want to grow your business. You want to expand. Careful what you wish for. There's a lot of work comes with that. You're going to be cracked wide open. It's not. So I think a lot of times we miss that chunk where it's a lot of paradigm shift comes with getting what you want. You don't bypass that. No.
And
Yeah.
you don't even realize what's coming when you ask for something.
No.
Imagine getting on a stage like talking in front of 10 people versus talking in front of 100 and then 1,000 and then 20,000 people. Big
Yes.
difference. Yeah.
And I don't even know how people handle sometimes these huge followings like that we're all supposed to have. I mean, you look on TikTok, like 6 million people like that video. What? What? How are you relating to that? Like, it's a celebrity factor.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
at what point do you go from this, heart-centered, intimate person that works with people who can manage only a certain amount of people, really,
Right.
to this person who's like now removed and detached and has to like treat people like followers and summer special? Is that it? To the celebrity who's just the persona. It's
Yeah.
not really relating to that many people,
Mhm.
you know. I still find all of this just a bit crazy making.
Yeah, there is a lot going on. There is a lot going on. Now, how could somebody prepare themselves for a leap, like for a jump forward? What would you
Hmm.
think of that?
Yeah. Well, when some of those things happened to me, though, like that's certain things that manifested, I I got into it. I don't know, it's hard to describe how I did it, but I got into a very sort of strong, clear place where I was sort of willing to be a bit ruthless with myself, to meaning you had to really be laser focused and know what fit and what didn't fit and what you're saying yes to and what you're saying what's on track and what's not. You have to be laser focused. And a lot of people that are more sensitive like us, we're softies. We just, just okay, and accommodate and go, oh, maybe it's that. No, the times when it really worked, I was like, oh, myself. I told myself years ago, because I'm living in a French province, right? And I'm English. And it's a small pool here of English people. So at some point I had to tell myself, what are you going to do here? And I said, my audience is whoever speaks English, and things are moving online. And that's who I'm speaking to. And I had to remind myself when I'm online, you're not speaking to the small local population just around me here. You're speaking to North America or England or Australia. And I had to set my mind clearly on that visual of who am I talking to. So I changed the energy. And now I can say a few years later, I've been to these countries, I have customers in these countries and friends in these countries,
Yeah.
you know, and my books, you know, and associations and stuff, things I'm asked to do a lot of the time happen over there, not locally. So I had to be so clear on my mindset to expand from the default of the local. That's, you know, it's harder when it comes to other things like love. There's two people, two souls involved,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but when it's you and your own goals and you know, you and your own, yeah, I think you can get sort of warrior centered enough, and you have to pick it and stick it.
So activating the warrior in there.
I think so.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you had to do when something worked? When it actually manifested versus the fantasy of something? Do you remember the mindset you were in or the energy?
Yeah, you know what? It's always warrior for me as well. Yeah, if I slip into fantasy, I can tell I slip into fantasy because I get weak in the fact that I kind of look to other people for validation. I'll look for
Yeah.
exterior validation instead of being like, this is my path and I know what I'm doing. You can do you, and I respect where you are, but I am not taking no for an answer. So one story was I think I was 12, and I had read in the newspaper that you could have babies in water.
Oh
And
yes.
instantly I was like, that's the smartest way to have babies ever. That's what I'm doing. And I shared it with my mother and my sister, and they were like, you can't do that. Your baby will drown. Like, I remember looking at them and thinking, you're like, you two are morons. But
Yeah.
because I knew so bad in myself, like not bad, but because I knew so firmly in myself, this is what I needed to do. Versus like if I had read it and gone to them and be like, do you think I could do this? I don't know. Maybe I could. If I
Exactly.
need them to support me, then I know that I'm not in it. But if I can look at people when they're telling me it won't work, and I'm like, damn right, I'll show you it will.
That's right.
Yeah, that's how I've
That's
known.
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, I get it all the time with being, you know, a clairvoyant medium, blah, blah, blah. People go, well, no one knows the future. Nobody can know all this stuff. And I'm thinking, some of us do. Some of us can. More of us can than you realize. You probably can too. You're just denying it.
Yeah, we all can. We all have that ability to tap in. It's just that muscle you got to practice.
Yes.
Yep.
It's just that maybe the difference between myself or others who have made it their profession and the average person who's intuitive is we've just taken that muscle further, refined it into more details. But it's not like it's not possible for everyone else to do that too. They just usually go, I don't know, I just know. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas you know, we break it down. How do you know? What is that sensation? What else comes with that sensation?
Mhm.
And when I do intuition classes and develop it and sort of push people a little bit, they do actually get a lot more. They're just didn't know to bring it to consciousness, didn't think to say it, didn't feel comfortable to say it. But a lot of the time we're right about a lot of stuff, you know. And so yeah, there's a lot of things. The more I do this and the more people I meet who are intuitive, there's a collective sensation of change in the air all the time. And there's qualities to that. And there's certain weeks that I notice everybody's out, like everybody feels like crap. There's certain weeks when we're like, I don't know, something lifted, and who knows why. Like we may never get our proof whether something's going on behind the scenes in or
Just let it go.
but we can all feel it. And so like acknowledging that and building a community of other people who don't dismiss it, who are listening to it. You know, you strengthen it and you reassure everybody else, like, oh yeah, I'm not alone, so I can trust myself. I can trust what I'm picking up in my own life too,
Yep.
and act on it sooner. You know? Yeah.
And that's the perfect place to wrap up there. Like this half an hour went so fast.
Yes, it did. That
You're
was great. It was fun.
to talk to. Thank you for sharing all of that stuff.
My
Great
pleasure.
tools to see if you're in fantasy, right? How to use your intuition.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the opportunity. It was great to meet you guys, and I'll stick around and listen to the next people too.
For sure. Thank you so much for being part of this. And I will drop Catherine Allen's website on the paper so you can get a hold of her. And I look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Thank you.